Welcome to the Tight Curls Project. I'm Shadia. I'm a bioengineer and researcher, and this is my Braids Care series, where I share the science behind keeping your scalp and strands healthy in braids. Part one was all about scalp health. Today, we're talking about something that has gotten a lot of attention lately: synthetic braiding hair. Maybe you've seen the headlines saying synthetic hair is toxic or full of dangerous chemicals. Or maybe you just want to know how to choose high quality braiding hair. Either way, we're covering that today. We're taking a closer look at what synthetic braiding hair is made of, what the science behind it actually says, and what you can do to protect your scalp, hair, and whole health while in braids. I'm not doing this alone. I am joined by a special guest, Ashley Davis. Ashley is a polymer chemist and inventor who's worked on developing hair extensions and tested many of the popular brands today. Let's get started. So, why is braiding hair in the news? This spring, Consumer Reports published an article claiming dangerous chemicals were detected in all 10 of the braiding hair samples they tested. This headline spread everywhere, and it caused understandable concern, especially for Black women, because we've dealt with low quality beauty products before, some that have actually been harmful to our health. I remember talking to my sister about this summer when she was getting braids, and we were trying to decide what was the best option for her. So I had to break down the study and what was maybe not as clear as what a headline indicates by itself. Here we're going to break this down together. So they tested for two things: VOCs and heavy metals. VOCs, or volatile organic compounds, are chemicals that evaporate easily into the air. You can think about candles, cleaning products, air fresheners, nail polish remover is a big one, and fresh paint. It's even that new car smell. These are smelly chemicals that evaporate into the air. Some VOCs can be harmful at high levels, but what matters most is how much you're exposed to and for how long. Now, here's where the Consumer Reports testing did not match real life. To measure VOCs, they boiled the hair samples in a clean, sealed container for 10 minutes. This is so the chemicals would build up and they could be captured. That makes sense scientifically if your goal is to force out as much as possible, but it's nothing like how we use braiding hair in real life. When we hot water set the braids, which is when they're exposed to boiling water, the hair is dipped for seconds or maybe a minute or even two. And it's also not trapped in a tiny sealed jar. We're in a room in a space where there's more ventilation. And one of the main VOCs they found under these extreme conditions was acetone. And that's the same ingredient in nail polish remover. If you've worn gels, you know sometimes you can use 100% acetone to remove those. And most of us have used acetone in small bathrooms with almost no ventilation. And even that is considered safe for everyday use. The trace amounts detected in this study do not reflect the real exposure you'd get while wearing braids and even what the braiders are exposed to. Moving on now to heavy metals. For heavy metals, Consumer Reports use ingestion standards, meaning the level that matters if someone is actually eating multiple grams of hair a day. This is not how exposure works for hair worn on the head. Based on the limits that they use, you need to eat about 25 grams of braiding hair to reach the threshold for lead. So, if you think about 25 grams of braiding hair, if it was 24-inch hair and you took one of the bundles out of a package of, the 3X, you took one of the bundles and you took a third of that, which is plenty for a couple of braids, and you ate that, you'd have to eat that much hair to reach the lead levels in this study. And I think you would have other problems if you ate that much braiding hair. Even stylists who occasionally hold strands in their mouths wouldn't come close to that. So the issue is not that the lab measured incorrectly, it's that the exposure scenario doesn't match how braiding hair is used. And when you look at the data in context, the levels detected do not indicate a meaningful risk for people installing or wearing braids. Now, if you want a deeper dive, Lab Muffin Beauty Science did a great breakdown, and you can really see a deep analysis of the Consumer Reports article and the testing that they did. I'm going to link that in my show notes below. So this overall doesn't mean we shouldn't push for more transparency when it comes to synthetic braiding hair. We absolutely should. But based on the data we have, the results in this article from Consumer Reports need context to be understood and to really understand what it actually means for your health. Now, moving on, in the article, they also mentioned chemicals like acrylonitrile and vinyl chloride. These ingredients are toxic on their own. Yes, that part is true. But that's not the whole story. Synthetic braiding hair starts with monomers. Think of monomers as tiny building blocks. So during the manufacturing, you're making this synthetic hair a fiber that's essentially plastic, a type of polymer. These ingredients react and bond together to form a completely new stable fiber. And once they're bonded, their properties change completely. So you're not dealing with the same properties of these original monomers. On another note, some people also worry about endocrine disruptors, and that was mentioned in the article as well. And endocrine disruptors are chemicals that can interfere with our hormones. But right now, there's no evidence that synthetic braiding hair releases endocrine active chemicals at levels that affect the body. And one more thing. Okay, something you definitely should not be doing is burning the ends of your hair. So, burning the hair, which I talked about as a plastic polymer, this creates harsh fumes. And testing has showed that it's not good for your lungs or for your stylist lungs in particular, because they're the ones who are doing this more frequently. So, instead of burning the ends to seal them, hot water is a safer option. Now, let's bring on our guest expert, Ashley, to talk more about what synthetic hair is made of and how to prep it safely. Welcome, Ashley. It's so good to have you here. Thanks so much for being our guest.
Hi, thank you for having me here today.
It's a pleasure. So, Ashley Davis is a polymer chemist, a researcher who's actually worked on developing new braiding hair. And we were having a conversation, Ashley, like just a few days ago, talking about something else. And then I asked you about a couple questions, and you just started dropping knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've studied for a while. So I'll give you my background. I'm a polymer chemist, scientist by trade. I've always been fascinated in the world of beauty, healthcare space.
Mm,
And I studied it on the molecular level. So, hair extensions being one of them that I even worked over COVID, during COVID, as a founding member of this company. We were doing bio-inspired hair,
mm,
and the hair extensions that we were creating were comparable to the items that are on the market today, but they had very low, if at all, no chemicals. And so that's one thing that I like to address today is the chemicals that we find in the braiding hair that we really don't know about.
Yeah, you're the perfect person to do this because you've actually tested hair and you have patents in developing synthetic or non-traditional hair. So you're the perfect guest. And I
Thank
do
you.
think, yeah, and I do think it is something that there's a lot of confusion about the chemicals and what's safe, what is not. So can you just tell us a little bit about the tests you did and how you even got into that space of looking at the hair that's on the market?
Okay, so I'll take a step back and just really talk about. So, hair extensions are basically engineered fiber, right? It's the natural process of just extrusion of a fiber, as you see fabrics today. So, one of the things that I noticed when wearing the braiding hair extensions or the engineered fibers, as I mentioned earlier, is that most braiding hair is made from monocrylic fibers derived from the copolymers acrylic nitrile, and vinyl chloride. Looking at those two chemicals separately, you look at, oh no, this is definitely not something that I want to
Mm,
put on my skin or so close to my scalp. But the thing that a lot of people don't mention is that those are two separate chemicals, but when put together, there are risk behind those chemicals being added, but they are very low in the way that the media has portrayed it as far as cancerous
mm.
and the high VOCs. And honestly, it's really the way that you prep the hair before you install it into your hair that really helps with keeping those VOCs very low and reducing the inflammations and the irritations to your scalp.
That what you said is really important because I think it can be confusing because if you look at what braiding hair is made up, and like you said, there's two separate chemicals that come together and form a new type of polymer, right?
Mhm.
And people will look up the individuals and be like, ah, because but it's a reaction that makes them into one chemical. So it lowers the risk significantly. And then that gets confused and combined with what's actually happening when you're treating the braiding hair. So like when you're treating the braiding hair, I think that's something that you've really highlighted to me as important. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so disclaimer. So as a young girl, I wore braids all the time. My mom could not do hair, so she kept me in braids, and I was always a part of some type of summer activity, as it's swimming, summer camp. So I needed a protective style to last me the
Yeah.
summertime. And so I mean, I'm saying like at the age of 3, 4, up
Oh,
to
okay.
about high school, I wore braids. But I did have this one incident where I was rushing, purchased the hair from a store. I won't name where,
Oh.
but I took it down and I went to my beautician because she normally just, I've always been natural. So she pressed my hair and she noticed that my hair in the crown was probably about this short and everything else
Oh,
was still the same length. And she was like, "What
wow.
happened?" Because I normally get my hair, if I wore braids for about 8 weeks, then I would go and get my hair washed, pressed, and we would repeat the braids maybe 2 weeks later. So she's like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I just took braids down." She's like, "Don't ever do that again." So
Oh,
after that incident, I was afraid. I was like, "I'm not wearing braids at all. I don't wanna
wow.
take that risk anymore." So that was about 8 to 10 years ago. So I have braids now, and since 8 years ago, I've first time wearing braids again.
Wow.
But the reason I decided is because I know now what I didn't know then, how to prep the hair. So typically what I do is an ACV wash, apple cider vinegar. And so what you do is you take 2 parts water, 1 part apple cider vinegar, and you put it in just some type of tub where you can dip your hair. So if you have a Pyrex bowl or if you have a Tupperware bowl, somewhere that you can actually lay the hair flat and dip it and
Okay.
soak it. And so typically I soak the hair for 5 to 10 minutes, letting all of those chemicals kind of wash away. And then I take it out and I pour that water out. And as you're pouring the water out, you can actually see the residue of these
Oh, really?
chemicals coming off of the hair. Yes, it's so
Oh,
cool. We did the study several times, and I thought, like, I can't see this stuff, but no, it's actually like an opaque white chemical. And the longer you let the hair sit, the more you probably get off. But 5 to 10 minutes is usually the time frame. And so after washing it with the ACV wash, I then go and get the conditioner that I normally use, just any conditioner, dilute it with water and do another soak. And the conditioner
okay.
just helps it to just soften for the same texture of your hair. That's another thing also I like to do is when I pick out my hair, I like to get it comparable to the texture. I try
Oh,
to
interesting. Okay.
I'm the girl in the beauty store that opens the packs of hair, feels it, makes sure it looks good. And
Yeah.
just that's just because I've done it so much, just
Mhm.
studying and trying to figure out how to make this bio-inspired hair. I had to figure out what the hair
That's
looked like.
true.
So
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, so touching this hair and just really feeling it, you can actually feel if you touch enough hair, you can feel the chemicals on the actual pack.
So what is
So
the
yeah,
chemicals? What are you feeling?
so typically those chemicals are
Like an alkaline coating? That's what I
yes,
was reading about.
so
It's like an alkaline coating or something.
an
Chalky?
alkaline coating, sometimes you get some benzoate oxides come off. It just depends on what they use to make the hair look good. So as I mentioned before,
Okay.
they're most of the companies that when they create the hair, they want the hair to look and feel good to the customer so that you can purchase it, right?
That's true.
So
Okay.
yeah, bringing those, taking off away that alkaline coating, and really getting it down to its natural fiber is really a big, big thing.
Mm. So you're looking, you're feeling it. Sometimes you can because you've done it so much, sometimes you can feel the coatings. That is
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
it almost gives like a plasticky feel. So if you've
mm,
ever felt plastic, the especially like the what are the new stadium bags that we have? It's kind of
Oh,
rubbery feel. You can actually some hair, some brands,
it feels like
especially
that?
feels like that. Yes,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So you avoid the ones that feel extra plasticky
Oh,
and don't look like
definitely.
that. Yeah.
And honestly, the hair that has a lot of shine and luster is a no-no too. Because our
Oh,
hair, of
okay.
course, we do have a lot of luster.
Mhm.
It's not as shiny as the hair that we see in the packages.
That's
Sometimes the
true.
hair is just way too
Way
shiny. You're
too
like,
shiny.
okay,
So we don't
this
want
doesn't
super
even
shiny.
blend. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're putting all this because the packages are clear, and they want
Hmm.
people to be like, "Oh, I want the shiny hair," but it's doing us no favors, basically, is what you're saying. That shine is the part we wanna get rid of, so don't buy it super
Yeah.
shiny.
When you go into the stores, you really want to look at these packages, especially the ones that have the hypoallergenic or the ACV wash. Today,
Mm.
we do see some of those brands where it says apple cider vinegar ACV washed hair, or the pre stretch, or the hot water set.
So that you can buy it if you don't wanna do it yourself, you can try to buy it, but sometimes you pay more for that. So being able
Yes.
to know how to do it yourself is powerful, right?
Yes. I like the fact that you said pay more, just because we see, social media has told us that we need to use human hair. Of course, human
Mm,
hair is more costly. So if you're trying to stay on a budget or you're just trying to be more cost efficient, getting synthetic hair is not a bad thing, it's just the way you prep it. But of
okay.
course, human hair, that's a thing that, we will use because it's human hair.
Mm,
But I've often found too, some of that human hair is blended with synthetic hair. So be mindful of that as you
mm.
use it for your braids or your extensions that you install into your hair.
That's a good point. Excellent. Is there anything else you think that people should know when they're thinking about synthetic hair?
Yeah,
Anything else?
so one of the brands or some of the brands that I really like to use because they're more natural synthetic fibers is the Connect Cologne, the Toyo Cologne, the Rastafari,
Mm.
the Rui hair. I may be pronouncing that wrong. It's the blue package hair. Those
Oh,
are
yeah,
some
the
of
Rua,
your
yeah.
the higher end synthetic hairs, which it does have the chemicals on it, but they they actually put their disclaimer of what their product is made out of. And so that's one thing I like to know. Look at the
Mhm,
hair, look at the package that you're purchasing, make sure that it has a list of what your hair is made out of, what fibers you're using. And then also just really finding that texture that's close to your hair because the strength of the hair can also cause damage. As
mm.
we were going through the studies, we noticed just doing some of the physical property studies that the synthetic hair on the market is strong enough to pull a vehicle with the tenacity of it. But
Wow,
the thing
that's
is,
crazy.
yeah, it's insane. You're like, "Oh my god." So, what does that mean? And so what it means is, so when we're getting our hair braided with the synthetic hair to your human hair, it's cutting it, and the reason
Mm,
it's cutting is because of the strength. And that's also from the hair not being pre-treated. And
mm.
so pre-treating
'Cause it's
it,
rough, right?
yeah, yep, you have those chemicals on top of it, it's the strength of the hair, and you're just adding all those layers on top of your hair.
Mm,
Whereas you can prevent some of those by just stripping it of those chemicals, doing a conditioner wash to make it softer, and just making it feel comparable to what your human hair grows like.
that's interesting. I can't imagine that it's that strong. I mean, that's very tough, and if you're pulling that with your hair, treating it the same way, they're not the same, so that makes a lot of sense. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. This is so helpful, Ashley. And if people want to find you, how can they connect with you? Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want to get connected with me, I am on LinkedIn, Ashley Davis, Raleigh, North Carolina. You can find me. There are the patents that we created are listed under my LinkedIn account. in conjunction with the other scientists on the team. But also, I'm on social sites, Instagram, simply Ash underscore XOXO.
We'll put it in the show
Yes.
notes so they can find you. Yes. Well, Ashley, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Tight Curls Project podcast and just sharing and spreading some knowledge for the audience here, because it could be confusing. And now we have a better picture of what to get and why and how all these pieces come together. So thank you.
Thank you. And as Shadia said, let me know if you want to connect. And I would be feel free to talk about hair. I love hair.
Oh, probably hear from us.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
So, Ashley is amazing. She really explains the chemistry and brings it back to practical choices. So, I hope you enjoyed that and got some peace of mind seeing that she also is wearing braids. So, now let's recap on the two things we really covered. And that's what to look for when buying hair and how to prep this hair. Something that's annoying and just the reality today is that most packages don't tell you what fibers they're using, and you really can't go off of the labels to understand what it is. Many high quality lines use types of acrylic fiber. And there also are lower quality products that may use PVC or other materials that just don't perform as well. So we want to avoid those. And just to be clear, neither Ashley nor I were paid to mention any of these brands. These are simply examples I found at my local beauty supply store and have researched to help you shop with confidence. So to pick high quality hair, pay attention to how it looks and feels. Maybe you can touch the hair at the place where you shop. It's hard to do that. We can look for really shiny, plasticky looking hair, and we want to avoid that. We want to look for packaging keywords because again, you're not necessarily going to see what the fiber is on the package, but you might see words that tell you it has the properties of a higher quality hair. And that's things like hot water set, flame retardant, pre-stretched, and then some hair has added features such as being water repellent, hypoallergenic, and some hair is already ACV washed. But we do want to avoid packages that only say 100% synthetic with no other details. That's a sign that it's probably a lower quality hair. Now we're going to talk about something that is kind of confusing, but important to look for and can also be an indicator of quality sometimes. And that is Kanekalon. What is Kanekalon hair? Well, Kanekalon is a type of acrylic fiber made by the Kaneka Japanese company. And they are known for producing high quality synthetic hair, and they were an early player. They're so influential that Kanekalon became a general word meaning synthetic braiding hair. And that's the issue. Some brands will use this word even though they aren't using the real Kaneka fibers. To find real Kanekalon, look for the official symbols or check the brand's website. So let's talk about some brands that I found locally that seem to have indicators of high quality. So the first two are outre expression and sensational expression. Both of them have an expression line for some reason, but they both feature 100% Kanekalon hair. And they are hot water settable and they have the pre-stretch as well. Rua is another line that's made by Sensational, and they use an Aquatex technology that's from the Kaneka company. And that's known for being lightweight and water resistant. I've used this several times. There's also a brand called Rastafari that uses a different type of Kanekalon hair. And then Easy Braid is a newer brand, I believe, and they use a spectra fiber, so they have their own technology, and they note it as being hypoallergenic. And then Toyokalon, and that's another Japanese brand that is known for high quality. So now that we have the braiding hair, what are we going to do to prep it? And prepping hair again can make a huge difference. And that's because it reduces the likelihood of irritation, the scalp irritation, skin irritation. Another thing that we're doing when we remove the coating is smoothing the surface. So we're less likely to get that cutting that Ashley experienced, which is the friction and the rubbing of the synthetic hair that has a rough coating on our natural hair, which can damage our hair. And then also, we can reduce odors. Some people, I haven't really noticed odors on my braiding hair, but some people have. And that possibly is reducing the VOCs. And that's not fully studied, but there's potential that some are removed by this step. For this process of prepping our hair, we're going to start with an apple cider vinegar rinse, which is 2 parts lukewarm water to 1 part apple cider vinegar. And we're going to put that in our container and put our hair in that, trying to lay it flat and let it soak for 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to remove our hair and rinse it and then do a conditioner soak. And that's a diluted conditioner in this warm or lukewarm water. And we're going to do that for a few minutes and then rinse it. And you can let your hair air dry completely at that point. And there is one thing I noticed on some of the packages, it actually says to shampoo your hair. And so if you want to do the shampoo step as the manufacturer of the hair recommends, you can add that step after the apple cider vinegar rinse and before conditioning. To wrap things up, synthetic braiding hair isn't something to fear. It's something to understand so we can make the best choices. And so we have now fact based advice from scientists like Ashley that we can use to protect our hair, our scalp, and also our peace of mind. Please send your questions, your favorite tips, or ideas for future episodes. You can drop a comment where you're watching or listening right now, or message me on Substack or Instagram. All the links are in the show notes. In the third and final part of the Braids Care series, we're talking about protecting your edges and also how to retain length while you're wearing braids. I'm Shadia, and thank you for joining me for the Tight Curls Project. Take care and show your curls some love.